from Hollywood and the four corners of the world. You asked for it. Starring Rich Little. Here's the star of You Asked For It, Rich Little.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, and welcome to the only show on television that takes you around the world in 30 minutes just because you asked for it. Tonight from Mexico, a visit with some unusual urban cowboys. From England, a motorcycle rider in the sky. And a visit with a most unusual New York City photographer, and much more. And now from Mexico, we're going to visit some average businessmen who spend their weekends looking for kicks and bucks and falls. Because Roy Beitzel of Atascadero, California, you asked for it, we sent our Desiree Goyette to Mexico City, where a group of men forsake their offices once a week and become Sunday cowboys in a rough, tough, and dangerous Mexican rodeo.
What do this draftsman and this priest have in common? Well, they're both Mexican cowboys, or charros. Señor del Guardio and Father Barraca are both members of Rancho Grande de la Villa, which is a private rodeo club for weekend charros. Amateur rodeo clubs like this exist throughout Mexico. The crowd is made up of the families and friends of the doctors, lawyers, and other business and professional men who ride in the rodeo. In the United States, the weekend sport for such families might be golf or tennis. But here, it's the Sunday rodeo at the club. The sons of the riders are exposed to horses and good riding at an early age because this kind of sport is not just horseplay. It requires great skill. The amateur charros go all out, risking life and limb for the glory of their teams. Señor del Guardio, our draftsman, will ride, and Father Barraca is the announcer. The events are similar to rodeos in the U.S. There's bronc riding and bull riding, but some events are different, uniquely derived from the special skills of the Mexican charro. What did the charros get out of all this? Well, they pay as much as $10,000 a year for the privilege of being thrown, kicked, or trampled by these obliging animals. Local pride is also important. Each year, there's a national championship rodeo to which the clubs send their best amateur charros. And now for the very dangerous final event. It's called the Paseo del Muerte, the Step of Death. The rider tries to change horses at full gallop, and with no reins to help him on the second horse. And now it's our draftsman, Señor del Guardio's turn. He did it in record time. And our draftsman's team has won the event. The United States is full of urban cowboys who ride mechanical bulls for thrills. But here in Mexico, the bulls are real. And for these urban charros, that's the ultimate thrill. This is Desiree Goyette with the charros of Mexico City, because you asked for it.
You know, those charros are my kind of cowboys. They can make a buck, and they can ride it at the same time. Yo. We'll be right back with some musical melodies, some mechanical marvels from Germany, as You Asked For It visits one of the most unique museums in the world.
And now back to Rich Little.
Automation isn't as new as you think. Back in the 18th century, clever German craftsmen were designing and building mechanical instruments that were as popular then as stereos and radios are today. Well, Michael Bulbrook of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, has asked to see some of these marvelous machines in operation. We flew our Janet Langhart to a castle in Germany where the world's largest collection of musical oddities is housed. Because you asked for it, Michael, we're going to hear some of the hit songs as they sounded more than a century ago.
Would you believe that Mozart, Beethoven, and Haydn once composed music for a table? This one, to be precise. It's called a flute table. Mechanical musical instruments were produced as early as the 16th century, mostly as gifts for princes and kings. People in Austria were quite surprised at this invention when it was first introduced in 1780.
If it weren't for Siegfried Wendel and his mechanical musical cabinet, as the museum is called, most of these ingenious mechanical masterpieces would have been lost. The museum itself is housed inside this beautiful structure in the city castle of the Knights of Bromser, built in 1420.
Siegfried has single-handedly assembled the largest collection of self-playing musical instruments from the 18th to the 20th century in Germany. And they're all here in his musical cabinet in Rüdesheim am Rhein. One of the highlights of Siegfried's collection is the Popper's pneumatic orchestration. It's sort of a one-cabinet band. There is no value that can be placed upon these treasures. There simply are no more, though at one time they were being turned out in enormous quantities. But today you are looking at the last artifacts of an era.
Years ago, there were more than 3,000 barrel organs in Berlin alone. And when people spoke of it as a musical city, they meant that literally, because there was no radio, television, or records. All the latest hits came out over the barrel organs, which are fairly easy to operate because they all run on air pressure. Siegfried Wendel hopes the revenue from his music cabinet will enable him to acquire and maintain and restore as many of these beautiful instruments as he can find. And we certainly hope that he achieves his dream and keeps the voices of the past alive. Because, Michael Bulbrook,
You asked for it.
Thank you, Janet. You know, music really hasn't changed that much. All you have to do is get the performer wound up and make sure he's full of hot air. Before you know it, the halls are alive with the sound of music. Do you know somebody with an unusual talent, or do you have a story of personal courage or bravery, and you'd like to share this story with us? Well, if you do, let us know by writing You Asked For It, P.O. Box 1980, Hollywood, California, 90028. Classical music has withstood the test of time, and so has You Asked For It. The original show, which is one of the most popular in the history of television, has spawned a host of imitations. But there's only one You Asked For It, and there's only one Jack Smith, host of the original show. He's here with another classic from one of his shows from the past. So let's bring him out here. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a tremendous round of applause for young Jacques Smith.
Oh, thank you for that marvelous introduction, Rich. You know, in the past, You Asked For It presented many high-flying acts, but none more daring than the three angels who performed astonishing feats on a motorcycle while hovering over 100 feet in the air and with no net. Well, it was all seen at the famed Eton School just outside of London, and the year was 1956.
One of the great acts of the continent. Up the rigging now more than 100 feet. The crowds at the fair love this, and you're going to see why. You know, when I first saw that high circular ledge, I couldn't believe that it was actually a motorcycle runway. But there the ride begins, and what a sight that is. 100 feet above the hard ground and no nets below. We've sung about the flying trapeze, but never one like this. Motorcycle power. By the toes now. Faster and faster, the centrifugal force throwing him far out. From the toe swing to the neck swing, and I'll bet you never saw anything like this. The cycle gains speed again. The girl climbs the revolving frame to provide a counterbalance, and what happens? It's off the track, swinging way out. Now watch closely as he comes around, spinning now over and over. A performance we'll long remember, the Trio Angelos.
The Cycle in the Sky performed exclusively for us because you asked for it.
And we'll be right back with a photographer to have a special view of the world she's going to share with us.
And now back to Rich Little.
They say all top-notch photographers have one thing in common, an eye for a good picture. Well, one of New York's most talented photographers is a woman named Flo Fox, and her eyes are something special. Because you asked for it, Helen Pryor of Woodside, New York, our Desiree Goyette, spent a day with Flo in New York's famed Greenwich Village to show us how this remarkable woman has achieved what many would call impossible. Watch.
Flo Fox is a successful New York photographer who is legally blind. But despite being born without sight in one eye, she has a terrific insight into the human condition.
Actually, I call it ironic reality. I look for a touch of humor in the everyday life. Most people might bypass it on their busy schedules, but I just stop and I photograph all of my surroundings.
Flo grew up in Woodside, New York, until her parents died when she was 14. Then she left home and got a real education on the streets.
It makes you gutsy to have to be out on your own at such a young age. I'm just sorry that I didn't have a camera to capture everything back then like I do now.
After marriage and one son, she had a successful career as a designer, tailor, and stylist, working in TV and advertising. But then, suddenly in 1976, the vision in her good eye began to deteriorate. At first, she says, she couldn't thread a needle. Then she couldn't read her mail. She said it was as though she had 2 pairs of stockings over her head that were constantly moving.
I spent about almost 2 years in my apartment alone, depressed, taking many out-of-focus pictures.
She had contracted multiple sclerosis, leaving her with limited vision in her good eye, correctable only to 20/200. She soon turned her attention to photography, using the then revolutionary autofocus camera. The camera automatically focuses on the subject in the center of the frame. It has a hold focus button so you can focus on an object, push the button, and then move the object off-center. It proved a boon to Flo's career.
Hey, thank you, guys.
I want to be on TV so long.
Well, if you're lucky.
Flo never sets up a shot, they just happen. She carries a camera wherever she goes, and if something strikes her as a picture worthy of taking, or the details presented to her arouse her curiosity, she'll take a picture. She concentrates by sound and instinct on the gauzy images that float before her eyes. To avoid the glare that gets into her eyes, she confines her photo taking to late afternoon and early evening hours. Once the picture's developed, she can take a closer look at details with a magnifying glass. Many of Flo's photographs have titles that give them a sometimes amusing or sad, ironic twist, like this one called Beggar's Banquet. A street actor inspired this photo entitled Live Entertainment. On board a ferry, Flo captured a different kind of life preserver. And a common street sign in this picture called One Way speaks an undeniable truth. Her pictures have been exhibited internationally in cities like New York, Washington, D.C., Paris, and London. She's been an inspiration for other sightless people and often teaches courses in photography for the blind. She is convinced that photography can inspire them as much as it has her. It's ironic that she can see so clearly what we who have sight so often overlook. And Flo Fox has opened our eyes to the world around us because you asked for it.
There are none so blind as those who will not see. Well, if we use that as a standard, then Flo Fox isn't blind at all. Her talent, personal courage, and sheer determination have given her eyes. Eyes to see into the dark corners of the world. And we have been privileged to see her because you asked for it.
Rich will be right back to answer one of your requests on You Ask For It. And now back to Rich Little.
Thank you, John. Well, we're getting an awful lot of mail, and we love to hear from you, too. Keep them coming in. Here's one from Donna Bloom of Levittown, Pennsylvania. Donna writes, I am 10 years old. I was wondering if when you do your impressions, it hurts your throat. Yes, when I do people like Louis Armstrong, or Rochester, Mr. Benny, oh, cut that out, Rochester. They hurt my throat. Some people ask me, can an impersonator be better than the person you're impersonating? You know, I remember one time I went on Bob Barker's old Truth or Consequence show. And the idea was they'd have a girl blindfolded on stage, and 3 actors would come out and do Mr. Magoo for her, and she would try and pick the real one. The 3 actors were Jack DeLeon, a very good impersonator, good comic actor, Jim Backus, who is Mr. Magoo, and yours truly. So we go on the show, and we all, oh, Waldo! Oh, my God, great Scott! you rascal. Anyway, guess who won? I won. Do you believe I beat Jim Backus, the original Mr. Magoo? Well, that's it for tonight. See you next time on... Good night, everybody.